Hey everyone, I'm Instructor Brooks, and this is the first episode of my series on board preparation. In this episode, I'll be talking about the truth of board pass rates and why they're worse now than before COVID. So if you're ready to learn something, let's go. So the FSBPT, which stands for the Federation of State Boards of Physical Therapy, keeps data on passing rates for each program and the total passing rates for all programs combined. So all the stats you're going to hear today come from the FSBPT's actual website, and they all are represented by U.S. accredited programs. So let's dive into this. In 2019, the passing rate on the PTA exam for graduates on their first attempt was 83%. But by 2022, the average dropped to 78%. That's a 5% decrease in passing rates. So the most recent data, which is from 2023, shows a slight increase from 79% to 80% of first-time graduates passing the PTA exam. So what does this mean for students, graduates, instructors, program directors, and just academia as a whole? Well, in this episode, we're going to dive into the ramifications for the student and or the graduate. First, and most importantly, it affects the students who do not pass by costing them time and money. The exam itself costs $485, plus whatever fees you have for the proctoring site. On top of that, you have lost wages due to the graduate not being able to work for at least another 3 months, at least working as a licensed PTA. Now, I must preface what I'm about to say with the fact that if graduates do not study appropriately during school and before the exam, no one can help them. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, you can drown that horse, but you definitely cannot make it drink. So, students and graduates who refuse to drink are not a part of this discussion. Now that that's out of the way, let's assume all the students and graduates I'm referring to are willing, able, and do drink. The program I work for costs $30,000 to go through the PTA program, and it's also an accredited program. Yet 20% of graduates across the country will not pass on the first attempt. So just giving you kind of a reference here, like how we don't have a perfect 100% pass rate. Hardly anybody does. And over time, it's pretty much impossible to be perfect. But still, 20% of graduates across the country will not pass on the first attempt. And they're spending, if you go to a place like where I go, $30K. So regardless of the exact amount every student's paying, lots of money and time is sacrificed. Time away from friends and family and kids and spouses just to get through these programs. I know for certain that students, all the ones who want to drink, work hard to pass the exam. So what is missing? Well, what is the point of paying tens of thousands of dollars to an accredited program if there is still a 20% failure on the licensing exam? I think the problem lies in two areas. One, the exam is not a good assessment of the skills learned in school or in the clinic. And two, programs are not doing a good enough job of actually teaching the information. So I'm not going to change the PTA exam anytime soon, right? But I can help programs do a better job. So no student should be graduating from these programs and then need to restudy everything before the boards. That doesn't make any sense. In fact, it shows a failure of the program to truly prepare students. I mean, how many of you, or if you're listening to this and have done it or you're about to go through it, how many of you have the huge Score Builders book? It's pretty much the condensed version of your entire program, and they expect you to go through it because, well, apparently you're not going to remember anything that you've been taught in school, even though you spent thousands and thousands of dollars. So what can prospective students do now that we know this information about failure rates? Well, I say you need to ask the program director some important questions before picking your PTA program that you want to go to. And here are my top questions to ask. So, number one, ask the program director, what is the first time pass rate for graduates on the PTA exam? And ask to see the data from the actual FSBT website. Don't just let them tell you. Actually have them turn their computer monitor around and show you their school's passing rates from year to year. The next question, ask the program director, how much time do instructors spend lecturing? Now, this question is important because it is well-established fact in all areas of education science that lecturing is the least effective way to teach and has the worst retention of information. Straight fact. Now, if the answer is that there's a combination of lecture, oftentimes called didactic classes, and lab, you should run. It means you're going to get lectured to for hours, sitting in a chair, taking a break maybe every 50 minutes. Now, maybe the program is hybrid or blended or some other fancy term they're probably incorrectly using, and you only go to class for lab. Well, that's great. Or maybe it's a traditional classroom where you're on campus for all of the credit. Regardless, you need to ask this next question, and that is, how do your students get the information they need for the lab classes? If the answer is any of the following, run again. First, reading the textbook. If they say that, get out of there. And the second one, reading PowerPoints. So the reason you should run is simple. When was the last time you read a nonfiction research book of hundreds of pages and did it in a 9 to 16 week period? Exactly. You haven't. So what makes you think you will now? Another possible answer is this. They might say that they use the methods of the Instructaworks campus. And if they do that, I think you should consider staying, because my campus is driven by evidence-based, tried and true, proven methods supported by all areas of education science. The campus offers strategies for learning and challenges to help students try and master the material. The idea of the Instructaworks campus is that upon graduation, students do not need to reteach themselves everything that they just paid to learn, but rather they can fine-tune the areas of weakness with a strategic approach, which is my battle plan. So what does all this really mean? Well, just by seeing the board passing rates, we can see the errors and flaws in the test, but even more so the teaching, and that is where I can help. Whether you're a student or an instructor, I have so many tips, strategies, hacks, and challenges to help students and instructors of all levels raise their level of success and have more fun doing it. Well, everyone, that's it for this episode. In the next episode, I'll talk about what this data means for instructors and program directors and how they can take action. And with that, I say be kind, pay it forward, and I'll catch you in the next episode.